Well, next we want to look at audio here in preferences. And we're going to go to audio right now. And here's preferences in audio. Now the first option we have is the master tune. This lets you adjust the overall global tuning in Reason. So the standard tuning is 40-4-0. Leave it there. That's the standard tuning you're going to need. That's important to keep this where it's at. Okay. Next we have our audio device. Now here we have the device that Reason sees. So once Reason looks around and says, well, what do you have for audio output? In this case, I'm using a built-in output. Or I could use a USB audio out, which goes to my speakers. I also have a Pro Tools that I get locked in here where I can use my Mbox 2 and Mbox 2 Pro. And also we have built-in, as you can see here, built-in mic and built-in mic for built-in output. And we also have built-in input here and output. So you got to find out how your device works. Now it's important, if you don't see your device here in your audio device section, you might have the right drivers for that device. I suggest you do a Google search and make sure you get the latest driver for your audio interface. Load it into your device, and hopefully then you'll be able to see your audio device right here. The next below that we have sample rate. Now it's very important for you to keep the same sample rate. If you have varying rates within a session, you may have some files that are going to play slower or faster to other ones. So let's say you start the session at 44.1. Well, you don't want to go here in the middle of the session and then start at 48 or go back up here to 96. You don't want that. You must keep everything the same sample rate. So even when you're importing files, you want to make sure you're at that sample rate. That way, it'll be consistent throughout the session, and the word clock will lock totally. Now here also we have the buffer size. Now the buffer size works, the computer itself sets up a certain area, a certain size that determines the input and output space. And generally a smaller buffer size has lower latency. That means, okay, I got this amount of area, we're going to use this size we're going to use for our audio and making sure we have audio in and out. Now, the lower this buffer size is, the less latency latency we have. And the higher it is, the more we have. So when you're up here and you want to record something directly in, I keep it low like this. But if I'm not, and I want to use the power, I prefer to go up in power. That I have more power to use other processes in Reason. Now a good buffer size, you can see mine's pretty good, is anywhere between 11 milliseconds and 5. 5 is really great because you really won't notice it so much. It's just 5 milliseconds. Anything where above 11 milliseconds, you're going to feel it. You're going to see that way. It's a little slower. It's moving later than I feel it moving at. And it's important to make sure you have the right buffer size set up for it. So in my case, we see here, I've got a 1 millisecond. That's a really great buffer size. And then the output here is 11. So output's pretty good. If I want to go lower, I can go here to 256 samples, and I'm there. And we can also move these arrows here to get there as well. And there we are. Now below here, we've got our latency compensation. So all this does is just compensate for any problem with latency. Sort of like to make it compensate for something being too late, too out of sync. It makes it a little bit easier for us. Now, right here, we have the control panel. I'm going to pull the control panel up. In my control panel, let's get a window for it. Here's my control panel. And you can see here I'm in a Mac, so it opens up Audio MIDI Setup. And right here in Audio MIDI Setup, as you can see, it's showing me what my built-in microphone input is, the built-in input here, and also the output. And that's for a Mac. Now for a PC, it's going to be in ASIO setup, which you can check out on your PC. Okay, we've got our audio set up. Well, now I want to look for the keyboard and the control surfaces. I've got a keyboard hooked up here. I'm using my Axiom Pro, as you can see right there is my Axiom Pro. And I want to make sure that Reason can see it. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go to Auto Detect. I've got a USB cable plugged in there, and one in the back of my computer, and we'll look for it. It's looking for it. Oh, it sees. So once it sees it, look what happens. It says, look, I see it. It says, use this. It's checked. It's ready to go. Now I'm good to go here. This is great. Now, just to make sure you can auto detect that surface. And if you can't do that, then what you need to do is make sure you have the proper drivers set up for that particular control surface or keyboard, so that Reason can recognize it. Or what you could do, you can say here, I know what it is. You may not see it. It may probably still respond back and forth with your Reason software. So you can say, okay, I'll select the manufacturer. Let's say it's Nakai. And then I'll select what it is. It could be an MPK49. And say, that's the one I'm going to use. I'm going to select the ports, and I'll go from there. And my input and my output ports, and you'll press OK, and that's good. So I've already got mine set up here. This is my M Audio Axiom Pro. Now I'm going to go to my next menu here, which is the Advanced. And here is where we get the chance to set up our keyboard as a controller. That means it's not just going to be a keyboard. It's going to be a surface control station. We'll be able to turn the faders up on the mixer, or turn dials, encoder knobs that are on a particular item. Like, for example, here on my Axiom Pro, I turn these knobs, and they will act as knobs on specific devices and be mapped out for those devices automatically. So it makes it much easier to work with Reasons with a control surface. So here we have external control. We're going to go to bus A. I'm going to use this one right here. And then we're going to use this here. See, we're checking them off. And this one here. And then right here for hyper control. Now these inputs are only used when you want to use Reason devices with your external sequencer or the program, right? Now below that we have our MIDI clock sync. So I want to sync it up. Now how do I sync this up? We're going to use hyper control. That's how we sync it with my Axiom Pro. And now I'm ready to go with my Axiom Pro and Reason.